There is a silent sculptor working in the shadows of your mind, shaping, carving, breathing form into your destiny with every thought you choose to keep. For what you think, beloved soul, you become. Not someday, not when the world applauds, but in every moment, in every breath, in the quiet architecture of your unseen beliefs. The universe does not speak in words. It listens to vibration. And the thoughts you carry are not whispers, they are commands. Sacred blueprints delivered to the formless by the forger of your reality, your inner dialogue. A thought is not merely passing wind, it is seed, it is fire, it is invitation. And like all sacred things, it asks only for your attention to grow. You do not become what happens to you. You become what you interpret, what you dwell upon, what you silently repeat when no one else is listening. The mind is a garden, and you are both gardener and soil. If you plant fear, you will reap trembling. If you plant love, you will grow wings. The ancient mystics did not shout this truth, they whispered it in silence, passed it down in breath. Buddha, Jesus, Lao Tzu, all spoke the same song in different languages, that the world is not as it is, but as you are, that the outer is but a mirror reflecting the inner, that your perception is creation. So many wander through life blaming the storm, never realizing they are the thunder. They curse the dark, forgetting they are holding the candle. They ask for peace while feeding the wolves of worry. But you, dear one, are waking, and in that awakening comes a holy responsibility to guard your thoughts as sacred offerings, not casual echoes. For every thought sends a ripple into the quantum sea. Every thought is prayer. Every thought is a doorway, and whether it leads to freedom or imprisonment depends on how you use the key of your mind. You were not born with fear. Fear is inherited, absorbed. Learned like a song you didn't mean to memorize, but you can unlearn it too. You can change the station. You can stop dancing to the rhythm of lack and tune yourself to abundance, to trust, to truth. Because the truth is, you are not a victim of thought. You are its master. But mastery does not mean force. It means awareness. It means observing each thought like a passing cloud, choosing not to chase the storm. It means noticing when the ego speaks with its trembling voice of scarcity and gently choosing love instead, not with a fight, but with a breath, a return, a remembering. The ego will tell you that you are your past, that your identity is built on what has been broken, that your worth depends on how you perform, how you're seen, how you compare. But the soul speaks a different language. It says you are already whole, you are already light, you are already home. And the mind, that beautiful, busy instrument, will reflect whatever conductor you give it. It can be the orchestra of doubt or the symphony of truth, but the choice is yours. What you dwell on, you magnetize. What you affirm, you multiply. What you imagine, you begin to embody. So imagine wisely. Think as though every thought is a prayer being answered because it is. Think as though the universe is saying yes to whatever you offer because it does. Not because it favors one person over another, but because it reflects without judgment. It is a mirror, not a parent, a receiver, not a critic. If you say, I am unworthy, the universe will align circumstances to echo that belief. If you say, I am divine, it will rush to prove you right, not because it rewards you, but because it cannot help but reflect the vibration you hold. The law is love. The law is reflection. You are not powerless. You are a creator cloaked in forgetfulness. But now the veil is thinning. Now the sacred remembrance is stirring. Now you are feeling it, that quiet, knowing that your thoughts are not passive, that they are portals. They are not harmless daydreams, they are energy. They are cause. They are becoming. And so I ask you, what are you feeding your future with? What are you whispering into the field of infinite potential? Is it, I am not enough, or I am eternal presence? Is it life is hard, or life is my teacher? Is it, I am broken, or I am becoming? You may not control every thought that arises, but you can choose which ones to invite in, which ones to give a seat at your sacred table. The guest you feed becomes the master of your house. Let the guest be love. Let it be peace. Let it be the stillness that sees beyond appearances, that remembers even in chaos that all is unfolding for your highest remembering. When you think a thought long enough, it becomes a belief, and a belief repeated becomes your identity. And your identity is what you live from, not as a mask, but as a magnet. You will not attract what you want, you will attract what you are. So become the thing you seek. Become love, and love will echo. Become peace, and peace will bloom. Become trust, and the path will unfold beneath your feet. Not because you forced the world to change, but because you changed how you see. And how you see determines what you receive. This is not delusion. This is alignment. This is ancient wisdom, dressed in modern clothing. What you think, you become, and what you become, you bless the world with. So bless it now. Not later, not after the evidence, not once it's safe. Bless it now by blessing your thoughts. Speak gently to yourself, for your body hears. Think kindly of others, for your energy ripples. Dream boldly, for the universe is listening with open arms. You are not here to be right. You are here to be light. And the light cannot shine through thoughts steeped in fear, in judgment, in self-rejection, but it will pour through the window of acceptance, of gratitude, of quiet trust. There is a current beneath your mind, the still, sacred presence of your soul. It is older than thought. It is truer than identity. And when your mind aligns with that current, your life flows like a river returning to the sea. This is the path, not to fix, but to align, not to chase, but to become, not to strive, but to allow. And as you allow the thoughts of truth to take root, thoughts like, I am already enough, I am safe to trust, I am part of the divine dance, your life begins to change. Not because the world shifted, but because you did. What you think, you become. So become the love that does not wait for permission. Become the joy that rises without reason. Become the peace that stands undisturbed by the waves. Become it in thought, in word, in vibration, and watch as the universe bends to meet you there. You are not here to react. You are here to remember. And the remembrance begins in thought. Speak to yourself as God would speak, with infinite patience, unwavering compassion, and a knowing of your unshakable worth. And as you do, you will not just become new. You will become true. And that, beloved one, is everything. And yet there will be days when the old thoughts return. Like ghosts of a former self, they come not to harm you, but to be seen, to be felt, and finally to be released. These thoughts are not your enemies. They are echoes, remnants of the stories you once believed you had to live by. Stories of inadequacy, of struggle, of not enoughness. They were never the truth, only the illusion worn by truth to help you remember. And remember you must, not just with the mind, but with the whole of your being. The remembrance of who you truly are cannot be grasped through logic or intellect alone. It must be lived. It must be felt in the marrow of your bones, in the stillness of your breath, in the sacred silence behind every heartbeat. The thought, I am unworthy, cannot survive in the presence of deep awareness. Awareness is not a thought, it is the space that holds all thought. It does not argue with fear, it simply shines through it. Like sunlight pouring into a darkened room, it does not ask permission. It does not knock. It simply enters and reveals what was always there, hidden beneath the veil of forgetfulness. And when you remember, truly remember that your thoughts are the brushstrokes painting your life, you begin to choose differently. You begin to create consciously. You begin to speak to yourself with reverence, not criticism, not because someone told you to, but because your soul demands it, because the divine within you will no longer tolerate the abuse of small thinking. You see, the most violent thing we do is not with fists or words, it is the quiet way we betray ourselves in thought. The subtle, constant drip of not good enough, the mental habit of diminishing your light before anyone else can. But this self-betrayal ends the moment you claim your role as the thinker, not the thought. You are not the storm. You are the sky it passes through. You are not the wave of fear, you are the ocean beneath it. And though the mind may forget, the soul never does. It is always known. It watches your every thought, not with judgment, but with longing for you to wake up and see what it has always seen, that you are infinite now and always. What you think, you become. So think gently, think powerfully, think truthfully. Not just affirmations for the sake of affirmation, but declarations rooted in spiritual knowing. Say to yourself not merely, I am strong, but I am the strength of the universe in form. Not just I am loved, but I am love itself. Wearing a name, let your thoughts not be wishful, Let them be declarations of what already is. The soul does not dream of becoming, it remembers that it already is. It is only the ego that scrambles for titles, for roles, for evidence of worth. But the soul simply is unchanging, unmoved, untouched by circumstance. And when your thoughts align with the soul, miracles unfold. Not because the outer world changes overnight, but because your perception of it does. And perception, dear one, is everything. The way you see colors, the way you live. If you think the world is out to get you, it will appear that way. If you think the world is a teacher, every challenge becomes a lesson. If you believe you are guided, life becomes a conversation with the divine. So I ask you, who would you be without your oldest thoughts? Who would you be without the belief that you have to prove yourself? Without the story that something outside you must change for you to be happy? Without the lie that your worth is negotiable? Pause, breathe, and feel the answer. Not with your mind, but with your presence. You would be free. You would be light. You would be you. And that, in its raw, untamed, unedited form, is more than enough. The practice then is simple. Not easy, but simple. Return, again and again, return. When the old thought arises, thank it for its service. It was once a survival tool, but no more. Now, you are living, not surviving. Now you are creating, not reacting. And you create through the gateway of thought, not just with intention, but with surrender. With the quiet trust that what you water grows, that the universe bends not to your demand, but to your belief. So believe in what is true. Believe in your own divinity. Believe that your thoughts are not random, they are the whispers of the future calling you home. And in that home, in that sacred sanctuary of awareness, you will find not answers, but peace. Not control, but surrender. Not perfection, but presence. And presence, dear soul, is the soil of miracles. You are not becoming something new. You are becoming aware of what you've always been. So think the thoughts that bring you back. Think the thoughts that remind you. Think the thoughts that dissolve the illusion of separation. And with every thought, build a temple, not outside you, but within. For what you think, you become. And you, beautiful soul, were always meant to become whole. Chat tipiti danoi, and as this unfolding deepens, something within you begins to loosen an inner clasp that held tightly to old identities, old definitions, old scripts that never truly fit. You find yourself no longer compelled to be consistent with who you once believed you were. You are no longer interested in defending the story. There is a gentle rebellion awakening in your heart, not against the world, but against the illusion that you must keep shrinking to survive within it. You start to feel your thoughts before you believe them. You sense the quiet texture behind each inner narrative, discerning not just the words, but the frequency they carry. And when a thought arrives dressed in the language of fear or separation, you no longer invite it in as truth. You greet it with stillness, observe it like a passing stranger, and let it go without becoming its echo. It is here, in this newfound intimacy with your own mind, that freedom takes root, not the kind promised by escape or achievement, but the kind that blooms in presence. You begin to understand that your greatest liberty was never tied to circumstances. It was always in your capacity to meet your own awareness without resistance. To look upon your thoughts not as enemies, not even as facts, but as possibilities. Some you outgrow, some you bless and release. Some you allow to become the seeds of your next becoming. And this becoming, it has no destination. It does not follow a map. It is not a climb nor a conquest. It is a deepening, a gentle descent into the truth of your own being, where what once felt like struggle now feels like refinement, like fire shaping gold, not as punishment, but as revelation. You stop fearing discomfort, for you come to know its secret. That discomfort is not a curse, it's a calling, a sacred bell ringing in your bones, asking you to come closer to what you have avoided, not to be hurt, but to be healed. And the moment you cease resisting, the energy once spent in denial transforms into clarity. The thought loses its edge. The story loses its grip. And in its place, a deeper truth emerges, not loud, but steady, not showy, but undeniable. You are no longer content with thoughts that carry the residue of survival. You begin to crave thoughts that nourish, that soothe, that illuminate. And you don't force them. You don't reach for affirmations like shields. You simply let the truth rise, from the silence that's always been waiting behind the noise. A truth that says without condition, you are not behind, you are not late, you are not broken. You are simply unfolding, moment by sacred moment. And what a miracle it is to witness this unfolding from within, to see yourself with eyes that do not demand improvement, but offer presence, to meet each breath not as a step toward somewhere else, but as a sacred arrival. You find holiness in the mundane, wisdom in the stillness, an entire universe in a single conscious thought. The old ways no longer seduce you. The need to be understood, to be approved, to be seen a certain way, it begins to fade like smoke in the morning Sunday, not because you don't care, but because you finally understand. Those things are not love. They are echoes of longing mistaken for direction. And now you have chosen a new direction, one that begins and ends within. Here you no longer try to manage your life with clenched fists. You don't curate your reality to match the expectations of others. You no longer shrink yourself to fit what's familiar. You let the old thoughts crumble. You let the false images dissolve. You allow the soft, luminous truth of who you've always been to rise unfiltered, unpolished, unashamed. And from that rising, a new way of living is born. A way that no longer hinges on achievement, but on authenticity. A way that doesn't measure worth by speed, but by depth. You stop asking how far you've come and start wondering how fully you've arrived. You stop counting milestones and start honoring moments. Each thought becomes an altar. Each breath, a return. Each choice to think with clarity and compassion becomes an act of sacred rebellion against the narrative that you must be anything other than this. This is the true awakening. Not a thunderclap, but a soft, continuous opening. A holy return to the simplicity of being, the grace of witnessing. The quiet joy of living as someone who no longer confuses their thoughts with their identity. And in this clarity, you are not just free, you are whole. You are not just becoming, you are remembering. And now that you remember, the need to strive begins to dissolve like mist in the rising Sunday. You find that life is not something to conquer, but something to companion. It walks with you, not ahead of you. It does not demand explanation. It does not rush. It waits for your alignment, for your agreement to no longer war with the moment you're in. And from this sacred ceasefire, peace is born, not the peace that depends on quiet surroundings, but the kind that hums beneath every sound, every heartbeat, every circumstance. You become a listener again, not just with your ears, but with your soul. You listen to the language of stillness, the silence between words, the pauses that speak louder than the sentences ever could. You begin to trust what cannot be seen but can always be felt. The guidance that has no voice yet speaks volumes. And you follow it, not because you understand every step, but because something in you knows it is holy. With each step you take from this knowing, the world reveals a new face. You see not with the eyes of judgment, but with the eyes of wonder. The mundane becomes magical. A stranger's smile becomes a message. The breeze through the trees becomes a teacher. You realize that life was never hiding its divinity. It was waiting for you to slow down enough to see it. And how beautiful it is to see clearly without the filter of fear. To witness yourself not as a project in progress, but as a presence already whole. You begin to speak less from habit, more from presence. You no longer fill the silence to prove you exist. You rest in it. You let it hold you. And in that stillness, you feel a kind of intimacy with life that cannot be explained, only lived. Your thoughts, once scattered like dry leaves, begin to gather in harmony. They become less reactive, more reflective, less urgent, more spacious. And in that space, wisdom arises, not from books or teachings alone, but from your own deep being. You realize that the truth you sought has always been nestled within your breath, your body, your being, waiting, patient, eternal. You start to understand the difference between movement and momentum, between action born of fear and action born of alignment. You stop chasing outcomes and begin creating from essence. Not to impress, not to acquire, but to express the quiet beauty that lives within you. You create not to become something more, but because you can't help but share the truth you've touched. And your presence begins to do the work that words never could. Your being becomes a sanctuary for those around you. Without effort, without performance, you bring peace into rooms simply by standing in your own. You listen without needing to respond. You love without needing to be loved back. You give without keeping score, because abundance flows from you, not toward you. This is the paradox of awakening, that in surrender, you rise. That in silence, you hear. That in stillness, life begins to move through you in ways your ego could never orchestrate. And you are humbled, not in shame, but in awe. Humbled to be a vessel. Humbled to be breathed. Humbled to remember that you are not the doer, but the dancer moved by a rhythm you no longer need to understand in order to trust. And trust now becomes your new ground, not blind faith, but embodied knowing, a knowing that whatever arises, you are not alone within it. A knowing that you are not here to control the waves, but to learn how to ride them with grace. And the fear of falling, it softens. Because you have fallen before and risen stronger. Because you now know that even the fall is sacred. That even in descent, something deeper ascends. So you no longer ask for certainty. You ask for presence. You no longer demand clarity before you move. You move because you are in tune with the movement within. The old need to predict gives way to a new willingness to feel. And from that feeling, the next step is always clear, not in the mind, but in the heart. And the heart, oh, the heart, it becomes the new compass. Not a fragile thing to be guarded, but a powerful current of truth. No longer a victim of longing, it becomes the source of love itself. No longer closed to protect itself, it opens wide, vulnerable, yes, but untouchable. Because when love flows from within, nothing outside can diminish it. You live from that flow now, quietly, radiantly, and without trying, you become a light, not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that reminds others of their own. And that is enough. That is everything. You cannot move forward holding on. And yet, how tightly we cling to the echoes of old wounds, to memories turned into monuments, to pain mistaken for identity. We wrap our hands around what once hurt us, believing that in the holding we are somehow safer. As if letting go would be betrayal. As if forgiveness would mean forgetting. But the soul knows otherwise. The soul does not seek comfort in chains. It seeks flight. There is a heaviness that builds when we carry yesterday into every tomorrow. It presses against the spirit like wet garments clinging to the skin, refusing to fall away. And we wonder why we feel stuck, why joy eludes us, why freedom feels like something meant for someone else. But we are not trapped by life. We are bound by our refusal to release what no longer lives. You cannot be both the healer and the wound. You cannot soar and drag your past behind you like a net through the sea. There must come a sacred moment, not loud, not grand, when you simply decide, I am done rehearsing this pain. I am done feeding a story that has long since ceased to nourish me. Not because the past did not matter, but because my future does. The soul, timeless and tender, does not cling, it moves, it dances, it trusts the flow of becoming. And each time you choose to hold on to the betrayal, the guilt, the regret, you interrupt the rhythm of your own transformation. You become out of step with life's music. You lose the thread of the sacred now. But hear this truth. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to carry forward. And the miracle is that you are allowed in this very breath to set it down. Not because it didn't shape you, but because it does not define you. The weight may have once protected you, but now it only slows your becoming. Let the grief be felt, yes. Let the tears come like rain upon dry earth. Let the sorrow speak, for it holds wisdom too. But do not make a home in the ache. Do not build an altar to what broke you. Grieve, and then open your hands. For the soul is always ready to rise, but it will not rise with what you refuse to release. The climb into higher ground requires lightness, and lightness begins with surrender. And surrender is not weakness. It is strength beyond reason. It is the courage to say, I am more committed to my peace than to my pain. I am more loyal to the life ahead of me than to the one that wounded me. I choose to no longer punish myself with the memory of someone else's harm. This is how healing begins, not with forgetting, but with choosing. Choosing to step out of the shadow and into the light. Choosing to breathe deeper than the wound. Choosing to say, I bless the past for what it taught me, and now I bless myself by letting it go. You cannot move forward holding on. The river does not cling to the stone it passes. The wind does not argue with the trees it bends. Life flows not because it forgets, but because it trusts what's next more than it needs to understand what was. And you, beloved, are a life in motion. You are not meant to repeat. You are meant to renew. You are not here to preserve a version of yourself built in survival. You are here to live from the fullness of your soul. So open your hands, open your heart. Let the old fall away like leaves returning to the earth. And in that sacred falling, feel the lightness returning. You are not losing anything real. You are reclaiming the space to become. And now you are even. Not to a finish line, but to a deeper stillness. Not to a place, but to a state of being that was waiting beneath every moment of resistance. This is not the end. This is the beginning that has no end. The sacred return to your original self, untouched by time, unmarked by wounds, undimmed by the noise of the world. You are no longer moving forward with clenched fists or weary striving. You are gliding, not because the path has changed, but because you have. The weight you once believed was part of you, the shame, the fear, the doubt. You now see it for what it always was. Borrowed, and like breath that is no longer needed, you exhale it into the vastness of grace. And in that grace, a new world awakens, not outside you, but within. It was always there, beneath the stories, beneath the striving, beneath the masks you wore to feel safe. A place where nothing needs to be earned, where love is not a transaction, where joy is not conditional, where peace is not a reward, but your very nature remembered. You move now from this inner sanctuary. Not faster, but clearer. Not louder, but fuller. You understand that life is not asking you to be extraordinary, it is asking you to be whole, to be here, to meet each moment with the presence that knows, I am already enough, I am already light, I am already free. And freedom, you now see, was never about escaping. It was always about embodying, being so rooted in your truth that no storm can uproot your peace, being so aligned with your soul that no opinion can disturb your knowing, being so filled from within that nothing outside can steal your joy. You think now not from habit, but from wholeness. Each thought a sacred ripple, each word a blessing. You no longer speak just to be heard, you speak to awaken. You no longer act to be validated, you act to express what overflows. And you no longer seek love, you become the place where love begins. This is your homecoming, the return to your divine self, not dressed in perfection, but in presence. Not shining from effort, but from remembrance. And so, walk now with soft steps and strong faith. Let your life be a living prayer, not for more, but for deeper. Deeper seeing, deeper trusting, deeper being. Because what you think, you become, and now you think with the mind of the soul. You see with the eyes of the heart. You live not as someone trying to arrive, but as one who has already remembered. I am whole. I am the thought that chose love. I am the becoming that needs no end. And in this final breath of truth, quiet, holy, and forever you rest. Not because the journey is over, but because you have become the journey itself. There is a sacred rhythm to the universe, a silent whisper moving through all things, drawing forth the invisible into form, the unseen into the seen, the imagined into the experienced. It is not a trick. It is not a secret reserved for the fortunate few. It is a law ancient, eternal, and as sure as the breath you are now taking. And that law is this: what you ask for with your heart, believe in with your soul, and align with in your energy, must come to be. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. Ask, believe, receive 3 sacred steps, not of doing, but of being. Not of striving, but of aligning. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. The frequency you emit is the reality you allow. Life is not giving to you based on your effort, it is reflecting back to you the echo of your own vibration. When you ask, you must ask not with desperation, but with clarity. The universe does not respond to pleading, it responds to presence. You must ask from the space of already having, not from the illusion of lack. To ask with fear is to affirm that you are without. But to ask with knowing is to call forth what has already been created in the invisible, waiting only for your permission to appear. And belief is the bridge the sacred thread between the seen and unseen. To believe is not to hope. Hope is fragile, trembling in the winds of doubt. But belief, true belief, is unshakable. It is the knowing of the soul before the mind catches up. It is standing in a barren field and feeling the harvest in your bones. It is trusting the soil even when the seed is still buried in silence. You must become what you seek. Not someday, not when it arrives, but now, right here, this breath. If you want love, be the presence of love. If you want abundance, feel the energy of enoughness. If you desire healing, speak as though your cells already know the way, for they do. The body listens not to the words of the mind, but to the vibration of your belief, and then receive. This is where most lose their way. For to receive, you must be open, you must be still, you must be surrendered. So many ask and believe, but do not receive, because their hands are closed, gripping old stories, past wounds, familiar pain. You cannot receive while clinging. You must release what was to allow what is. You must become the space for the miracle to arrive. Receiving is not passive, it is an act of trust. It is the willingness to be vulnerable in joy, to expect good not as a reward, but as your natural state. To let life love you without needing to control how it comes. This formula, ask, believe, receive, is not a trick of the ego. It is a dance of the soul, a remembering of your co-creative power. You are not a victim of life. You are life. You are the extension of Source, here to shape, to express, to call forth beauty from the ether of your imagination. The law of attraction is not about manipulating outcomes. It is about mastering your frequency. You do not need to chase your dreams like prey. You need only to tune your energy to the reality where they already exist. Like turning the dial on a radio, your desired life is already broadcasting. It is not being withheld. It is waiting for you to align. There is no scarcity in spirit, no shortage in the infinite. Every vision you hold was given to you because you are capable of holding its frequency. You are not meant to suppress your desires. You are meant to spiritualize them, to lift them into the light of awareness and say, yes, this is what my soul has come to experience. You are not greedy for wanting more. You are divine for remembering that more is possible. So breathe. Let go of the resistance that says you are unworthy. Let go of the belief that says you must struggle. Let go of the lie that says the universe favors some and not others. It does not. It flows where the channel is clear. It speaks where the heart is open. It creates where the soul is surrendered. This is just the beginning. And so the question arises, not from the lips, but from the deepest altar of your being. Am I ready to receive? Not just the things, the outcomes, the dreams I've written on paper, but the feeling, the vibration, the identity of one who already has it. For to receive in the realm of spirit is to remember. It is to realign. It is to shed the illusions that say, I must earn, and awaken to the truth that says, I must allow. Allowing is not weakness. It is the highest form of courage. It is the soul saying, I no longer build walls out of fear. I plant gardens of trust. Allowing is the surrender of control, not to chaos, but to intelligence. An intelligence that shaped oceans, painted galaxies, and placed within you every dream you dare to imagine. Those desires are not random. They are not distractions. They are divine whispers echoing from the mind of God, placed in you because you are the vessel worthy of their blooming. But the ego wants to make it complicated. It says, let me make a plan. Let me calculate, compare, prove, protect. And yet none of those bring peace. Because peace does not live in the fortress of control. Peace dwells in the meadow of surrender. It moves like water fluid, trusting, open to wherever love leads. And love, my friend, is not a reward. It is your origin. It is your destiny. And in between, it is your vibration. You will know you are aligned when you no longer beg for miracles, but breathe as one. When gratitude precedes manifestation, not as a tactic, but as a truth, you give thanks not to manipulate reality, but to merge with it. You thank the divine before the door opens because you know the door already exists. You thank the universe before the healing arrives because you feel it blooming beneath the surface of your surrender. This is not blind faith. This is visionary faith. Faith that sees with the eyes of the soul. Faith that trusts the invisible more than the temporary evidence of the senses. The senses will deceive. They will say, nothing is changing. But the soul will whisper, everything is aligning. The mind will panic. The spirit will smile. You must choose which voice you feed. Let go of urgency. There is no clock in the soul. Time is not your master. It is your servant. And when you live in alignment, time bends to your vibration. That which once seemed far away arrives without effort. That which once seemed impossible becomes obvious. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. You do not plant a seed and then scream at the soil. You water it. You trust it. You give it light. You know that unseen processes are unfolding beneath the surface. You do not doubt the seed. So why do you doubt yourself? The same force that grows the tree is breathing through you now. The same love that spun the stars is holding your heart. Do not belittle your worth with the smallness of fear. Do not shrink your radiance to fit into the mold of someone else's comfort. You were not made to fit. You were made to expand. And when you ask, truly ask. Ask not from the voice of separation, but from the heart of union. Ask not as a beggar. Ask as a co-creator. Ask with the knowing that the answer is yes the moment your vibration becomes one with the answer. Ask with joy, with love, with awe. Ask not only for things, but for states. Ask to become peace. Ask to embody grace. Ask to live as abundance, not merely to receive it. And then trust. Let the universe surprise you. Let go of how, let go of when. Let go of needing to script every scene. Life is not a screenplay. It is a symphony. And you are not the conductor. You are the instrument. Be tuned. Be willing. Be still enough to feel the music moving through you. So many spend their lives trying to manifest from the head, writing goals, setting intentions, creating vision boards filled with images. But manifestation begins in the heart. It is not what you picture. It is what you feel. You must feel as though it is already so. You must become the living embodiment of your desire. You cannot want abundance and vibrate in lack. You cannot seek love and vibrate in self-rejection. You cannot ask for freedom and vibrate in control. The law of attraction does not respond to words. It responds to your state. Your state is your offering. Your presence is your prayer. And the greatest prayer is not give me more, but make me whole. More will come. It always does. But what you truly seek is not the thing. It is the feeling the thing represents. And that feeling is available to you now. You do not need to wait for the money to feel secure. You do not need to wait for the partner to feel loved. You do not need to wait for the dream to come true to feel fulfilled. Because security is not outside, it is present. Love is not outside, it is awareness. Fulfillment is not outside, it is alignment. You must understand, the moment you feel what you seek, you are no longer attracting it, you are living it. And the universe responds not to your wishes, but to your essence. Not to your effort, but to your energy. So be mindful of what you practice being. If you wake each morning rehearsing lack, rehearsing fear, rehearsing what has not yet come, you become an echo of what you do not want. But if you awaken and speak as one who is already blessed, walk as one who already receives, think as one who already is, then you summon not just things, but miracles. This is not fantasy. This is the law. And the law cannot be broken. It is not bound by your doubt, only delayed by your resistance. For what you resist, you bind to you. What you fear, you feed. And what you embrace transforms. And so the practice becomes simple, though not always easy. Align with the frequency of what you wish to experience. Not by pretending, but by remembering. You were born of joy. You are sculpted from light. The core of you is abundance. Not material, but spiritual. Limitless potential in motion. If you desire love, become a sanctuary of love. Speak gently, forgive quickly, smile from your soul. Let your presence be a healing field. If you desire health, treat your body not as a machine to be fixed, but as a temple to be honored. Bless your cells with every breath. Drink sunlight with your eyes. Feed yourself not just food, but thoughts of wholeness. And if you desire peace, then be still. Let go of the fight. Let go of the needing to be right, to be first, to be seen. There is nothing to prove. The ego says, I must achieve to be worthy. The soul whispers, you are worthy long before your first breath. Choose the whisper. What the mind calls unrealistic, the heart knows as inevitable. The dreams that move you, the visions that won't let go, They are not distractions. They are directions. They are soul maps. Sacred GPS coordinates pointing you not outward, but inward, back to your divine blueprint. Trust what pulls at your spirit. Trust the longings that come not from envy, but from truth. The desires born of your highest self are not desires, they are callings. And every calling is holy. But beware, the ego will try to hijack the law of attraction. It will say, use this law to get what I want. Use this law to control others, to gain attention, to feed my identity. And in doing so, it will miss the entire point. For this law is not a tool for manipulation. It is a mirror of consciousness. It is the sacred flow of becoming. You are not here to bend the universe to your will. You are here to merge your will with the will of the divine. And the divine always seeks expression, not possession. It seeks truth, not performance. It seeks expansion, not through effort, but through embodiment. You do not attract what you say you want. You attract what you are willing to be. And being is the highest form of asking. There is no more powerful signal to the universe than to rise in the morning and live as if your prayer has already been answered. Not out of arrogance, but out of trust. Not from fantasy, but from faith. When you become the answer, the question dissolves. When you walk in knowing, the path clears. When you radiate gratitude, the doors open not because they were locked, but because your eyes were closed. You are not waiting for the universe to bless you. The universe is waiting for you to remember. You are the blessing. And as you remember, the flow begins. The synchronicities appear, the right people come, the timing aligns, and life, which once felt like a maze, becomes a melody. And so we flow deeper into the still waters beneath the noise, where the eternal truth whispers without words, you are the creator of your experience, not as an egoic dictator over fate, but as a conscious participant in the sacred unfolding of reality. You are not here to force life into your mold. You are here to remember that your mold is made of life. Every thought you think is a brushstroke on the canvas of the cosmos. Every belief you hold is a magnet summoning its likeness. Every emotion is a seed, and the universe is the soil that says only one thing: yes. You see, the universe never denies you. It only reflects you. It does not argue, debate, or correct. It responds. It listens not to your lips, but to your essence. It gives not according to your request, but according to your alignment. This is why two souls can ask for the same thing, and one receives while the other waits. It is not because one is more worthy. Worthiness is never in question. It is because one has aligned with the feeling of having, while the other is still vibrating in the ache of lack. Feel it now. What does it feel like to already have what your soul desires? Not as a trick, but as a truth. What does it feel like to live in a state of answered prayer? Can you breathe it? Can you walk as if the doors are already open? Can you smile not because you hope, but because you know? This is the foundation of belief. It is not a chant. It is not a mantra repeated in desperation. It is a state of inner certainty that needs no outer proof. And here lies the paradox. When you no longer require evidence, the evidence appears. When you no longer grasp, the thing you long for arrives. Not as a reward, but as a natural extension of your vibration. The law of attraction is not a promise made to the hopeful. It is a mirror held up to the faithful. And faith, real faith, is not blind, it is visionary. It sees beyond what is to what will be, and even more than that, to what already is in the timeless field of the unseen. This is not metaphor, it is physics. Everything in existence is energy. You are energy. Your thoughts are frequencies, your emotions are waves, your beliefs are tuning forks, and the universe is your echo. You cannot emit the song of doubt and expect the symphony of joy. You must become the vibration of what you wish to receive. That is the only way. You must live as if the healing has happened, as if the love is present, as if the abundance is flowing, as if your joy is justified not by circumstance, but by existence itself, because it is. To be alive is to be justified in your joy. To breathe is to have already received the greatest gift. And from that awareness, everything else is added unto you. The sacred text says, to those who have, more will be given. This is not favoritism, it is frequency. When you have an awareness, have peace, have gratitude, have presence, then you open the flow. But when you identify as one who lacks, you unconsciously repel the very thing you seek, not as punishment, as physics. Two opposing frequencies cannot occupy the same space. The vibration of lack and the reality of abundance cannot dance in the same body. So you must choose, not with your lips, but with your life. Not with your intellect, but with your being. Who do you choose to be in this moment? Not someday, not when the dream comes, not when the evidence appears, but now. Now is the point of power. Now is where creation begins. Not in the past, not in the future. Here, this breath, this awareness, this decision. And when you choose to believe not as hope, but as knowing, you become a portal for the miraculous. You become the opening through which the universe pours itself into form. You stop chasing signs and start being one. You stop waiting for the light and start shining it. Let the old stories fall away now. The ones that said you're too late, too flawed, too broken. Let them dissolve in the light of this truth. You are the source of all you seek. Not the ego self with its doubts and wounds, but the deeper self, the divine self, the formless self that has never been separate from source. You are not a vessel to be filled. You are a fountain that never stopped flowing. And when you remember this, when you stop asking life to give you what you are unwilling to feel, when you stand in your truth, not with arrogance, but with alignment, then the doors open, not one, but all. Not by accident, but by resonance. You do not receive because you begged. You receive because you became. And this is the awakening. The moment you cease trying to force the stream to bend to your will and instead relax into the current of who you already are, you become what you were born to be, a vessel through which grace flows effortlessly. Your desires are not detours. They are divine impulses, but they do not move from striving, they blossom from surrender. This is why you must not only believe in the dream, but believe in the dreamer. You must look in the mirror and see not the story of who you've been, not the conditioning of who you were told you are, but the sacred truth that you are a dream of God in form, a divine intention vibrating with purpose, breathing with potential, glowing with a light that the world did not give you and therefore can never take away. So often we ask the universe for signs. Show me, we plead. But the universe asks you the same in return. Show me who you believe yourself to be. Show me your vibration. Show me your faith in action. Not through struggle, not through proving, but through alignment. Ask by declaring, believe by embodying, receive by allowing. The formula is simple, but the ego is noisy. It will try to make this complicated. It will say you need more data, more effort, more confirmation from the outside world. But all of that is smoke. The real power lies in the still, unwavering knowing within. The one who manifests with grace is not the one who tries the hardest. It is the one who trusts the deepest. The one who knows that to become is not to acquire, but to remember. You are not here to chase the dream. You are here to become the frequency of the dream. And when you do, you collapse time. You compress distance. The impossible becomes ordinary. The unseen becomes seen. Because life responds to the inner state more than the outer wish. Your job is not to micromanage the how. Your job is to steward the now, to become the clearest, most honest version of you, to tune your frequency not to the noise of fear, but to the clarity of truth. You must ask yourself daily, what am I broadcasting? Because the universe is always listening, and it does not respond to confusion. It responds to coherence. It responds to clarity. It responds to emotional integrity. When you say, I want abundance but feel scarcity, the universe hears scarcity. When you say, I want love but vibrate in unworthiness, the universe reflects unworthiness, not because it judges, but because it reflects you are the signal. Life is the mirror. Change your signal, and the mirror changes. There is no exception to this, not for one soul, not for one moment. And this is not to blame you for the life you've lived, but to awaken you to the life you can create. You are not at the mercy of your past. You are not imprisoned by your mistakes. Every new moment is a doorway. Every breath is a reset. You can begin again not by changing the world, but by changing your vibration within it. So pause, breathe, come home to yourself. Not the self that performs, not the self that pleases, not the self that chases, but the self that simply is. From that place, all things are possible. From that place, you don't need to fight for your future. You simply allow it to arrive. and arrive at will because you are ready to receive. You are not summoning a force outside of you. You are reactivating the force within you, the same force that spoke stars into the sky and whispered galaxies into the dark. That voice is yours. There is a kind of receiving that requires no hands. It is not a taking. It is an opening. And that opening begins the moment you stop striving to get and begin choosing to be. Because when you become the version of yourself who already holds the life you seek, the universe cannot help but respond. Not out of obedience, out of resonance. Like tuning forks across space, life finds the matching tone and brings it back to you. Not because you manipulated it, but because you matched it. This is not magic, it is law. And when you live from that law, you begin to understand everything that arrives in your experience is feedback. The people, the opportunities, the resistance, the delays, all of it mirrors your frequency. And when you stop blaming the mirror and start adjusting the signal, your life transforms, not by force, but by flow. But here's the paradox the ego cannot grasp. The less you need something, the faster it comes, because need is rooted in lack, and lack repels. When you say, I must have this to be whole, you declare to life, I am not whole. And life, in its infinite intelligence, reflects that belief back to you. But when you rest in your fullness, when you walk in your completeness, when you radiate, I am already what I seek, then the outer world rushes to align. This is why it is said, seek first the kingdom within, and all else shall be added unto you. That kingdom is not a place, it is a vibration. It is the still, unwavering, knowing that you are already one with all you desire. And in that knowing, you become magnetic, not because you are chasing, but because you are being. Being is the greatest attractor. Being is the ultimate prayer. Being says to the universe, I am ready not because I am desperate, but because I am aligned. So if you ask from joy. If you believe from wholeness. And if you receive with grace, not as a beggar, but as a beloved child of creation, who knows that abundance is not a gift, it is a birthright. You do not attract what you're worthy of only when you are perfect. You attract what you're aligned with when you are present. Presence is the real power, not perfection. So drop the mask, let go of the performance. Release the belief that you must get it right to earn what already belongs to you. You are enough. You have always been enough. And when your energy speaks that truth, the world listens. And now, beloved soul, we arrive not at an ending, but at the deep inhale, before the next divine unfolding. This is not the finale of your story. It is the remembrance of the truth that has always pulsed beneath your seeking, that there is nothing more to chase, only more to become. And you become not by reaching, but by returning. Not by adding, but by shedding. Not by striving to manifest the dream, but by awakening to the dreamer who is already whole. Ask, believe, receive. Not 3 steps on a timeline, but one sacred vibration of being. A cycle as old as light itself, spiraling through your breath, your thoughts, your heartbeat. It is not something you do, it is who you are. When the noise falls silent and the soul begins to hum. When you ask, you are not begging life to change. You are declaring your alignment with truth. You are saying to the universe, I remember what I am. I remember what is mine, not by entitlement, but by essence. Asking, when done from truth, is not a plea, it is a remembering. When you believe, you are not constructing a fortress of willpower. You are stepping into the ocean of knowing that has always surrounded you, that sacred field where doubt dissolves and trust becomes breath. To believe is not to wait, it is to walk as if the prayer has already been fulfilled, to smile at the unseen as if it were tangible, to rest in the arms of the formless and say, I know, I know. And when you receive, you are not capturing a prize, you are opening a hand. You are releasing all barriers to joy. You are standing in stillness, palms open, not controlling the shape of the gift, only welcoming its essence. For the soul does not ask for specifics, it asks for frequency. It knows that true abundance may come wrapped in different forms than the mind expects, but it always comes, always. You see, the law of attraction is not about bending the universe to your will. It is about remembering that your will, when purified of fear and resistance, is the will of the universe. You are not separate. You never were. The space between you and your dreams is not a gap of time, it is a veil of doubt. And as you lift that veil gently, breath by breath, what once felt distant arrives in silence. And so I tell you now, with no drama, no need for grandeur, just the quiet truth echoing from soul to soul. You are already what you wish to be. You are already the love you seek. You are already the healer, the teacher, the miracle. The dream is not outside, it is speaking through you, moving your hands, beating your heart, calling you not to chase, but to allow. And what is allowing if not the highest form of trust? Trust that the invisible is more real than the seen. Trust that the dream planted in you was not a tease, it was a seed. And your job has never been to grow the tree overnight. Your only task is to water the soil of your being with love, with presence, with belief. The rest is done by grace. Do not measure your life by outcomes. Measure it by alignment. Measure it by how fully you are living in the vibration of what you desire, not in the future, but now. Measure it by how willing you are to feel the joy before it arrives, to embody the peace before the storm passes, to radiate love even before the mirror reflects it back. For that is creation. And so, if you leave with anything, let it be this. You do not need to wait to become magnetic. You are magnetic the moment you stop hiding, the moment you stop doubting, the moment you stop looking outside and finally turn inward and say, yes, I remember now. Remember what? That you are the light. You are the vibration. You are the prayer already answered. You are the soul the world is waiting to see. And your life, when lived from this truth, becomes not a pursuit, but a poem. Not a contest, but a celebration. Not a path to somewhere else, but a sacred dance with the present moment. Ask, believe, receive. Not with effort, but with presence. Not with fear, but with trust. Not tomorrow, but now. Now, where the universe meets you in the fullness of your being and whispers back the same truth you've been searching for all along. You are already it. You have already become, and all that remains is to live it.